Hey everyone, it's Ed Zoller, Villa Realty Group with your end of August real estate market update for Southwest Florida. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a full-time real estate agent going on my 24th year. I do data analysis, market analysis for the real estate market, not only locally here, but also in a sense nationally. But this market is only going to talk about Southwest Florida for you buyers and sellers. Educated clients is what I do. So if you're watching this, then you want to be educated about the real estate market. Want to think about it's a good time to buy or a good time to sell, or to kind of time the market. That's what we're going to go over today. You can see all this, the entire PowerPoint at leecountymarketupdate.com, where you can follow along with me. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. I'm going to go over the slides and tell you my thoughts on what this data means. So let's get to the first thing. August, a lot of big news out there. Jerome Powell is at the Jackson Hole meeting this August. He did say that it's time to adjust rates. Now, they're probably going to do a quarter point. Some economists are hoping for a half a point. What that does to a market, everyone thinks that that's going to be the magic cure for this market, and it's just going to make buyers jump over fences. We're going to talk about what a quarter point will do and look at the data analysis for Southwest Florida. All right, so first things first, supply of inventory of things for sale. I want to take my cursor here and show you, this is September. And as you notice here, inventory drops about 3,000 homes between what is that, April, all the way down to September. September is next month. So the end of September, we should hit a bottom as it did in 18, 17, 18, 19, and as it's doing right now. But I want you to see something here about this year. This didn't go down that much. We peaked out a little over 10,000. We're at 9,100. We're not going down 3,000 unless 2,000 homes just disappear from the market this next coming month. We're probably going to bottom out around 9, or we tend to bottom out around 8. And then after September, it shoots up in all the way till January of another 3,000 homes. So that means that we might exceed this graph and hit over 12,000 homes. I had to go back in time to find out the last time we had 12,000 homes for sale, and it was kind of in that 2009, 2010 range where everything was, of course, foreclosures. We don't have that right now, but that's very concerning when you have increasing inventory, and it did go down 1.7%. That's per month. But our inventory for August is 54% higher than it was August of last year. So we are still seeing great amounts of inventory that's not selling. And although it's going down, and that's a step in the right direction, that's not going to get us to where we need to be, especially if we're going to plateau in September and start going up all the way until January. So what happens in January? Well, the supply should be at its highest. That's great for buyers. And the demand will just start picking up again as it did in 2021, 2022, 2023. In this year, January, we hit a 40-year low of 933 sales. You have to go back 40 years. That's the last time we sold that little. Right now, we went down to 1,010. So we're getting very, very close. If this continues to keep going down in September, October, November, December, and it bottoms out in January as it does every single year up until this year, except of course for COVID, then we might actually see a new 40-year low happening. Not only did it happen in January, it might happen this summer as well. So for buyers out there, you want to wait when the demand's the lowest, the inventory is the highest, and when's that going to be? September to January. This is not just local. This is everywhere. So I just highlighted this. This is MBA application data, the new graph. And right now, what the MBA does is it has an index. The number, don't care what that means as much. It tells you how many applications for mortgages are occurring out there in the market. And as you can tell, during COVID, when COVID hit its peak and everything was pulling off the market, not a lot of buyers were out there looking at homes in March of 2020 when it was really, really bad. But we're even lower than that. As a matter of fact, from the peak of COVID during the early times of 2021 to now, we have a 62% decrease of people making applications for mortgages. This is one of the lowest that we've seen. If I keep going all the way back, you can kind of see this graph down here, and it was never really ever this low all the way down here. This is also a very bad sign for the real estate markets as far as prices going up. So just something to take note that this is not just a Southwest Florida number, this is for the nation. So a lot of buyers out there are not really eager to be buying homes, especially at these interest rates. The average home price did what we thought it was going to do. If you've been watching me month by month, you'll notice that this thing has been really, really hesitant to go down, and there's a reason for that. First and foremost, we did go down 0.76%. We went from 375 to 372. I do this for owners out there to know that if the market's going down $3,000 on its own, then dropping your house $3,000 is probably not going to do anything. It's not going to change your position. You're going to need to be ahead of this curve as long as this market continues to keep losing money month after month after month. Again, I show this average home price right here in the red graph. This is the fake equity I talk about that owners did not deserve. This was a slow, steady 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. This was slow and steady. This is about the real equity you had into this. This was caused by COVID and FOMO buying and the fear and Wall Street buying 20% of our homes. BlackRock now selling those homes. Open Door. Zillow was buying homes. Well, they're not anymore, and they're actually dumping their properties right now. So this price, although it was very humpy back in the 2005, 6, 7, 8 crash, this has been really resistant to go down as much as it did last time. And there's a reason for that. Builders have been artificially keeping the prices high, and what they're doing is doing incentives to keep the interest rate really, really low. Like, forget about 6% interest rates. How about 4% interest rates? Well, it costs them 20 grand to do that. And they have to give you closing cost money and offer up 50, 60, 70, 80, as much as $90,000 I've seen worth of incentives to buyers out there to buy their homes as long as they can get their price. Well, that works for a while until they can't sell their homes anymore. We're going to get to what builders are doing now, but our prices for this last month of August did go down. I expect next month to be even further, as you're going to see what I'm going to see in a little later slide. House payments as a percentage of household income. Sustainability is what drives a market. And so what this graph shows you is you take the average household income. In Lee County right now, it's $74,781, as you see down here. You take the interest rate, which right now is at 6.5%. You take the average home price for Southwest Florida, and you put in the numbers, and you figure out what part of the gross income goes towards a mortgage. And you can see historically, everything under 26% is sustainable, except for in 06 when we jumped above in the 40 percentile range. Well, what happened? We know what happened. It crashed, it overcorrected, it slumped down, and it started making its way back to 23 to 26% of the gross household income of the county should go towards a house. It did dip a little bit, obviously, during the start of COVID, and then skyrocket. We're right back to the 40%. What do you think is going to happen? What has to change? Well, interest rates would have to change, but prices have to change. Insurance has to change. Everything needs to couple together to make that average household payment, which right now is sitting at $1,620, would be a sustainable. And right now, that same average home is probably in that $2,500 to $2,600 range. This is why buyer demand is so low. And a cut from the feds of 1/4 to 1/2 point is not going to change anything with this. We're still in the 40 percentile range. And I kind of show you here that, this is not sustainable when you're above this line. And we are way above this line. We're going in the right direction, but this is what sustains a market. This is why we're going to stabilize, is because people can sustain these kind of prices and mortgage payments off their household income. So I did the math for you. And for those of you who don't like math, I'm going to do it for you. If the feds drop 1/4 point, what that does is it turns the average home with the average interest rate at $25.63 a month. That's principal, interest, taxes, insurance. That's what PITI stands for. And it drops at a whopping $50. Is $50 a month going to make every buyer jump up and down for joy, jump over that fence, and buy a home? I don't think so. I don't think that's what's deterring people over $50. Even if they did that, our household income, that ratio back to that graph, is only going to be at 40%. And if you go back, you'll see that 40% is way above 26. I mean, being at 40 would be right here. Okay, a step in the right direction. And that's what's going to happen next month. We need to go even further down, and that's done with only price, insurance, or further price interest rate reductions as well. Home value growth month over month as opposed to the Zillow home value index. I do use this graph because what I was able to do is go back in time, all the way back to 2000. And zero means stable market. That means month over month, the home's going up a little bit. Houses go up usually on the average 3 to 4% total a year, not per month. Of course, during that boom, we were going up 2 to 3% a month, over and over and month after month after month. And obviously, when we crashed, we were losing 1 to 2, almost 3% month after month after month with every one of those dots. We stabilized around 2012, and then we kind of hovered around going up between 0.6 and 0.9%. Times 12 would be around, that 5 to 6% appreciation that you normally see. And it started losing its steam until COVID jumped right back up again. Prices soared again, 2% a month, 20 to 30% a year, year over year over year. What I look at here is this graph, that negative 0.76%. How many consecutive months are we in this right now? And right now, we just hit our 13 consecutive month. The last time we crashed, we were at 59 consecutive dots all down this thing. And so what I want to see with this graph is it start making its way back up, back to zero, back to where it's just stable. And if you're getting further away from the graph, from the zero mark, then you're going to continue just like it did here, getting further, 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 further. A couple times it tried to pop back, it bottomed out, and then it started rising, 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 rising until it got back to zero again. So I use this graph for that. Are we getting better? Are we getting worse? Looks like we're getting a little bit worse. Here's a cool thing though, the positive thing. A couple months or a couple market updates ago, we were like the #2 in the country for price reductions. We were up to 38% of our listings were reducing their price. That's a panic feature. We are almost back down to our long-term average, a little bit higher than that 22%. We're at 27%. We're not even in the top 20 for Florida, where we were #2 in Florida. Tampa is now leading, as you guys saw last market update. Tampa kind of joined us back in April and May in the top 10, and now it's leading the league at almost 38% price reduction. So Tampa's going through a little bit of a change. After us, we're kind of in that lead. Punta Gorda actually in the first part of that lead. So there's a reason for this, though. Owners now have started getting off of that idea that their house is worth a gajillion dollars. That, oh, my neighbor a year and a half ago sold for a gajillion dollars and $500,000 for my $200,000 house, and I want more money. Owners are getting a little wiser now that that's not working in this market. With record low demand, with increasing supply, with price reductions from last month and the month before that, owners now are coming on the market. Agents are advising and educating them. You need to come on if you want to sell your home, truly sell your home. You need to be competitive with the market and stay ahead of it. That's at least what I'm telling my sellers out there, keeping them educated about it week by week to let them know if we're ahead of the curve or behind the curve at all. And so this is why you're not going to see as many price reductions, because people are coming on for a more reasonable price as opposed to those outrageous prices thinking that the market's actually going to catch up to them, but they're not. So let's just go over month by month. This is September 1st. Houses for sale, 9,100. It's down from 9,300, as we showed you. The houses sold, we sold 40 less homes than we did, and that was now the second worst in 40 years, getting close to that 933. The pending sales are future sales. So when you see a house go off the market, it's not closed. It's not registered as a sale. It is getting ready to be there. So when you see pendings down, you know that next month the sales are probably going to be down as well. And you can see that it went down there. The new constructions for sale, or the new homes for sale right now, have just hit a very big high, even up even further. 1,946 brand new homes, never lived in, ready to be sold to people by builders, are sitting on the market empty right now. That's an increase. It takes an extra day to sell. The average of the median asking price actually went up back to last month's value. The median selling price did as well. And the percent of asking prices sold is kind of still at that 96%. I know it's down a little bit, but fractions of percentages don't mean anything. This just tells you that, both demand is way down, supply is going down, but not down fast enough. New construction homes for sale are increasing. That means it puts builders in the driver's seat because they own 1 out of 5 homes on the market right now. Are we in a buyer's or seller's market? Well, if you have more than this 3.94 months worth of inventory, I say you are. And so when you're slightly above that 4 months of inventory, it's a slight buyer's market. When you start going above 6 months of inventory, you're in extreme. And if you go even above 8, and go almost to 10, you are in super extreme, we'll call it, buyer's market. Buyers hold all the cards right now. And so if a seller out there wants to sell, you got to cater to the buyer, offer them concessions, entice them to buy the home. The marketing plans we have to come up with have to be a lot more creative than just going on the market, adding a price and hoping for the best. And you don't have to hope very long because it's FOMO is sold. So the more higher this is away from this line, the more extreme that buyer's market is. So if someone asks you buyer's or seller's market, yep, we're in an extreme buyer's market right now. Builder inventory is what the theme of this is. I did show this graph a couple months ago, and I did circle a couple things. Anytime builder inventory reaches above 9 months, we have had a recession dating all the way back to 1963. This has only happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So 7 of those 9 times was a named recession. Of course, 2 of those were the double dip recession, stagflation recession, 1990s recession, the Great Recession, where we started going down, we ricocheted back up because of all the foreclosures, and then back down. We just call that one recession. The COVID recession, where everyone lost their jobs and inventory went sky high because there was no buyers, and now whatever we're going to call this year. 2024 is going to be what recession? What are we going to call that? The red circles I circled are the years that feds drop rates. Isn't it funny that the feds drop rates to entice buyers, yet the inventory soars? Almost every time you see that red circle, it goes right back up again. Like a little too late there, feds. Maybe you should have done that while you had more indications that this was going to happen. Maybe doing it here a little bit later, or doing it a little bit sooner so that peak was not as much. But you can see here, almost by clockwork, as soon as they cut that interest rate, it tends to soar. My fear is they're going to cut interest rates now. In my opinion, a little too soon, but we'll take it. What if this makes it soar even more? We could have a pretty bad recession. So this is about the theme of the month, the builder panic out there. This is a graph compiled by the U.S. Census Bureau, and I just want to have you see something here. This was during COVID. These are completed unsold homes from builders. These are not being built. These are done, and the builder owns them. And you can see here, that is almost a record number. Of course it hit higher during our biggest recession in the last 100 years. The builders had all the inventory. But this number we have not seen since 2009, and that was on the way down. This is on the way up, but we saw this back in 2005, and it kept going, going, going. This is what's freaking the builders out right now. It's a 300% increase of homes that haven't even sold, and they're done. They don't want them. They usually pre-sell them before they close, and as soon as they close, the new buyer's in them. These are houses that are unclaimed. And I'm going to go over a couple things these builders have done. 3 particular builders here in Southwest Florida. So first I want to talk to show KB Homes, and I actually found homes. This is a KB home. It's in Parrish, Florida. It's a little south of Tampa, and you can see that price change. They were at originally $494,000 listed for sale in May. In June, they removed it. They put it back on the market in July, probably had to do something with the house, at $491,000, and then look at that, $54,000 price drop, and then it went pending. It still took 3 weeks to do that. $54,000. This is a community in Parrish, Florida. They just sold one of these homes 2 months prior for $498,000. How'd you like to be that buyer? This is why patience for buyers is key. You don't want to reach for falling daggers. If you were that person who bought 3 months ago for $500,000, $498,000 that house, and then one across the street that's brand new, in essence better than yours because it's new and yours isn't because you lived in it, is now $54,000 less, that's going to put you upside down. Adams Homes, Southwest Florida. This is in Cape Coral. You can see here, June 10, $400,000. They're asking for this nice 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,755 square foot home in the Cape, and they just dropped $40,000 down the board, and they're kicking in $10,000 worth of closing costs. There's $50,000 right there. The next one, D.R. Horton. This is the nation's #1 builder. This is a house in Cape Coral. I'm sorry, North Fort Myers, a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,300 square foot monster. It's got porcelain floors. It's got granite countertops. It's got stainless steel appliances. It's got bathtub and shower. It's got a 3-car garage. It overlooks a preserve. Awesome, awesome, right? You know, originally was on the market for $492,999. Then they dropped it last month to $477, and then now just recently this month, dropped it another $7,000. Not even 7 days apart, not even a week apart, down to $479,999. See, KB and Adams dropped big chunks all at once, keeping those prices elevated because they can't sell homes now. They have too much inventory. Now they have to finally drop 40,000. If they drop 40,000, what do you think the used market has to do? So this is kind of a domino effect. Horton, on the other hand, has been dropping 7 to 10 grand a month for 4 or 5 months. So they've been doing it more of a slow crawl, trying to keep prices elevated. We're going to get back to this house in a little bit. So the summary of this panic is, what does this mean to you as a buyer or a seller? This is going to put severe downward pressure on the whole market. Why would a buyer want your used home, Mr. Seller, if they can go get a brand new home? I don't care what you did to it. I got a cool fence. It's still used. A used car, no matter how fancy it is not any better than a new car. It usually has to be worth less money. Unless you added something like a pool or more square footage, then it would be comparable to that new home out there. But what does this mean to you as buyers or sellers? Well, for a buyer out there, patience, patience, patience. 40, 50 grand is great. You are not going to time this market perfectly. Even if you watch every single episode of every single month of my market updates, even I couldn't tell you when the bottom's going to happen because it doesn't reveal itself until 6 months later, just like the peak didn't reveal itself until 6 months later. Supply should start going up in September. And you think the builders are panicked now? They'll be more panicked then. Demand is going to continue to plummet till January. So from September to January, that is your time. And don't reach for the home. Don't catch a falling dagger. You'll get cut. Let it fall gracefully. Find the perfect home. Let it fall into your hand. And if you have to be patient, great. For sellers out there, that fake equity you gained during COVID is being lost to the tune of this last month, 3 grand. The month before that, 7 grand. 10 grand every other month. It's a lot of fake equity, but you didn't earn it. You only got it because of fear and FOMO buying and this the hedge funds all buying up homes. So as long as you price yourself accordingly with this market, you can get out of this market before it continues to do what it's going to do. And in my opinion, it's going to get to where we're stable. We're not there yet, so prices are going to come down. Go back to that home I talked about, that 3-car garage, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,300 square foot monster, right? This is another thing the builders are doing. They're not only dropping 7 grand every other month or every month or so to get down in that price point, but they're also paying closing costs and buy downs and flex cash and all these extra money. Let me just do some simple math. I did this last month. I'm going to do this real quick here. For this house, if this was a 1-day-old house, let's say you bought it, changed your mind, wanted to sell it out there, it's going to take that new buyer $25,000 down. By the time we put in insurance, interest, taxes on a 3.5% down FHA at the current interest rate of 6.25 or 6.375, you'll have a payment of $37.40, which includes that HOA. Now with these incentives, we're going to use all that interest rate buy downs, that flex money they're doing. It's the same price. Your down payment's not 25, it's 16, and because of principal, interest, tax, insurance, the new interest rate of 4.99, the same tax bill, bought down using flex cash, we can get that payment down to $32.12. On a used house, that would be no different than if you dropped $80,000 off this price and bought a house for $390. A $392 house would also be $32.13 in this particular HOA, including that HOA fees, a drop of another 18%. This is how you stay ahead of the game. If the market's going to go down 18%, you can get that now as long as you get the incentives. And the builder goes, well, we don't want to give incentives because we just dropped the price. Then wait. They'll give it to you. Believe me, they want to sell these homes. So August is our hurricane season. Brief synopsis. Inventory went down 1.7% as expected. Demand decreased 4% in the month of August as expected. Not as much as we didn't expect that much. Pending sales also decreased 3%, which means we're going to decrease again next month. Home value growth year over year is getting further from the stable line. We're at 13 consecutive months. Unemployment did tick up. I don't have a graph for it, but it did tick up to 4.3. We were 3.5 about 6, 7, 8 months ago. So that is a pretty year over year growth of unemployment. From year over year, 20%. Remember those graphs I showed you of history of 1963 and on, well, the Feds usually increase interest rate to combat inflation when inflation goes more than 12% year over year. We were at 14 last month. Now this month, year over year, unemployment's up 20%. It's only happened a few times in the last 60 years. And then the list pendants that uptick a little bit, not a lot. We're not going to get to foreclosures and short sales for another year or two, even if we're going to have an abundance of them, or banks will figure out not to do that. They really don't want to do it. They'll figure out every way they can to not own foreclosures and own homes. So I don't expect to see what I saw back in 2008, 9, and 10, but they'll probably do it a little differently this time. Of course, my data, I'm just going to keep adding and adding to this because investing.com, the Reinventure app that's out there, Zillow, Bureau of Labor Statistics, Mortgage Broker Association. If you want to know where I get my data, it's right there for all to see. And if you guys have any questions, you can always give me a call. That's my cell phone number. You can look at all my market updates at leecountymarketupdate.com, dating back to January of this year. Buyers, I do have still my teacherscanbuyhomes.com. You can remember, teachers down here only make about 50 grand a year, and I was getting them 300-400 of those teachers houses. And so for buyers that want to be prepared for when the market comes to them, such as watching that feather fall in your hand, fixing your credit, I don't charge anything for it. We want to make you prepared. The down payment that you'll need, the down payment assistance that you may or may not qualify for, which loan program, where do we need to get your credit? All those things are in consultation form. You can go on Teachers Come By Homes. Even if you're not a teacher and you're watching this, you can click on it, fill out a quick 10-question survey, and that'll prompt me to give you a call, and we can start getting you prepared to be a buyer. Hope to hear from you guys soon. Talk to you later.